First of all, I would also like to welcome for sure all participants, and in particular the VGU students who are also with us today. And you will also have later on some time to ask questions to the panel, in particular related to the topic of smart factory and related to digitalization and carbon emission reduction. As a very brief introduction also, how the topic of CO2 neutrality is discussed in Europe at the moment, and this was already very well introduced by Shelby Doe. Since a few years, there are the so-called ESG principles, and for sure there are very clear objectives how to make Europe carbon neutral by 2050. Germany is going away and trying to become carbon neutral by 2044. I'm really very positively surprised that Vietnam is also having very ambitious goals in making Vietnam CO2 neutral until 2050, by knowing that some other Southeast Asian countries are planning with 2060 and even beyond. On the other hand, it has also been discussed that there is a global trend in fostering reporting, so the carbon or the corporate reporting on CO2 emissions. And this is not only related to CO2 emissions within the company, this is even going much beyond, and this is the so-called upstream and downstream CO2 emissions. And therefore, in particular, countries like Vietnam, who are also very much export-oriented, for sure have to comply with such standards, because companies worldwide are demanding more and more very detailed and certified data on the emissions. But to be frank, it goes much beyond, because the 4 so-called steps under the Corporate Sustainable Reporting Directive says at first you need to measure. And I think you showed a very perfect idea how to measure CO2. The second one is to reduce. And already this morning, with Indofol, we have had a great keynote speech to see how Vietnam is working on making energy much more environmental friendly by focusing on solar, wind. Water power is for sure very famous in Vietnam since many years, but also for sure using green hydrogen technologies in the future for transportation and energy generation, etc. That means measuring, reducing. The third step is to substitute. And for sure, to substitute coal-based energy with green hydrogen is a substitution. But I can tell you that when it comes to German manufacturing companies, the highest amount is related to the bought-in materials, to the supplies. If we look at companies like Bosch, the automotive industry, about 80% of the overall carbon footprint of such companies is related to upstream and downstream emissions. And less than 20% are related to own emissions. And therefore, it's very relevant that companies like Vietnam, like China, like many other Southeast Asian companies get prepared to offer CO2 neutral supplies, because at the end, the importing companies take this as a financial value. Because what they cannot reduce, what they cannot substitute, they have to compensate. And this is the fourth step, compensation. And you know, compensation costs a lot of money. So therefore, it's a very relevant topic we have to discuss today. And we are very much in line that circular economy and sustainability, including CO2 neutrality, is only possible with a strong focus on digitalization. And we have learned before, for sure, how this is related to generating data in the manufacturing processes, but it goes for sure much beyond. By this, I would like to, for sure, welcome also the other panelists, and I would also like to give you the floor to introduce your company for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and also at first to give your opinion how you can contribute to make manufacturing more sustainable and how you are interpreting the future challenges of your company in making value chains also more CO2 neutral. Yeah? Mr. Do, one of your last slides mentioned the Science-Based Target Initiative. And you also mentioned the sectoral contribution in Vietnam on CO2 emissions. What do you think are the biggest challenges of the manufacturing sector in Vietnam on CO2 reductions? And what do you think what the government can also do to support the manufacturing company in Vietnam to become CO2? This is not working.
Okay, so thank you very much for your question. So, the commitment from our government in the COP26 and reconfirmed in COP28 to let Vietnam to be the net zero by 2050. So, from that commitment, strong commitment from government. So, of course, our government, they also have many policy to support the enterprise, especially in the manufacturing sector, to cut down the CO2 emission. I think from the government perspective, they will try to have some like a guideline and some like the tariff, the favor condition to the company to apply the ESG, especially for the carbon emission. For example, for last few years, you can see Vietnam government, they have allowed many investors to invest in the solar farm, right? And they also support the power cost, because for the solar power is very high cost. But when they sell to the factory, so they will not increase the price when they sell to the factory. So that, I think that is one of the policy the government, they can have the factory to cut down the carbon emission. But I think there are lots of policy from government to support to the manufacturing sector to cut down the carbon emission. And come back to the challenges that the manufacturer they are facing now for the carbon emission. So I think the more challenge is the owners, the factory owners, the awareness of factory owner, because almost the owner, they always think that in order to cut down the carbon emission, they have to invest a lot of money. And that's some kind of the cost they have to pay. But from my point of view, to follow the carbon, to comply to the carbon emission policy, the factory owner, they not only invest, but they also gain from that practice. For example, in my slide, I say when we apply some technology, especially for digital transformation, you can optimize all the whole factory process and also increase efficiency. So we can get the two targets there. The first, you can get more benefits by optimize all the production and increase efficiency, saving energy, and you can also cut down the carbon emission. So I think the more challenge for many factory owner is the awareness of the ESG practice. Yeah. So yeah.
Good. The same, I think, counts for many other countries, that many manufacturing companies are not informed yet about the needs, how to implement ESG principles, and also for sure how to report and measure CO2 related data. Yeah? Thank you very much. So we still have a few minutes left because we started a few minutes late. I would also now like to bring you in the discussion. For the students, I think these are all great employers for you in the future, so get in contact. But are there specific questions to the panelists you would like to put as a student or as a member from industry or as an international guest of the conference? Any question to the panelists? Don't be shy, come on. Yes, oh, the CEO starts. To break the ice.
Thank you, Professor Holger. This question goes to Mr. Hậu, Advantech. The role of AI and IoT in energy transition is tremendous. The potential is tremendous, but what are the key three challenges for you to put the Advantech into the leadership position, not only for Taiwan, but for the rest of the world? Three most challenging things.
You get this one back, please.
Thank you much. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hill, for your question. We are talking about the carbon, the decarbonization, right, in the manufacturing sector. IoT and AI is play very important role because nowadays for all the management, we are all the data driven, right? So we need to have the data, and from data we have information, and from there we have the right decision, and to have the right action again all the situation we see, right? So Advantech is one of the technology company. We operate globally, and actually we are also the leading company in the IoT and AI application for digital transformation. And we all know that digital transformation is one of the important process to have the manufacturing to optimize all the operation, and also to have them to from there they can increase productivities, to reduce the waste, and also improve the saving energy, and at the end we can cut down the rate of the carbon emission. So in Vietnam, Advantech, we are very active company in that in the digital transformation. We also very active and very work closely with the education sector. For example, with the VGU, we have the second year to organize we call the AIoT Work. We will have our students to get in touch with the technology and also have a real application, and they will develop their own idea for the different business section with the IoT, AI, right? So that's the way we try to support to the not only to the company but also to the education session to get in touch with the new technology, and then we organize very well ecosystem for the grow in the for long term development. Yeah.
Get the sweet challenges.
Challenge, right?
Perfect. With this, I would like to close this panel discussion and the first industry session on Smart Factory. Thank you very much to all the panelists.